Yeah.
It's great to finally see movement in this industry. I don't know what's going to be happening with the last political turn of events, but we're going to keep going forward no matter what.
Yes, we are, because this plant continues to grow towards the light. But rescheduling is definitely on the menu. As nurses, we're all for descheduling. I mean, rescheduling is better than nothing, but, really descheduling, because this plant has so many therapeutic benefits. The therapeutic use of cannabis is the use of cannabis products for medicinal, wellness, and healing purposes. It is personal and subjective to each consumer.
Welcome to Season 5 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. Your host is Honey Smith Walls, author of the new book, Healing Beyond High, Cannabis Truth, a gentle, practical guide for elders to learn cannabis fundamentals safely and effectively without overuse or overwhelm. In a world where the FDA has yet to stamp its approval on this ancient natural remedy, Honey Smith Walls bridges the gap between Western healthcare norms, uplifting benefits and relief through gentle cannabis plant therapies. Join this 21st century cannabis shaman, uniquely positioned to assess the green intentions of medical, farming, and business industries in cannabis and uncover fascinating historical, political, scientific, and spiritual facets of the plant.
Welcome to the Cannabis Truth Podcast for this wonderful cannabis conversation with leading green nurse, Sherry Mack. She's an RN with a BSN and is the founder of Green Nurses, which has a medical-based, patient-first approach. And through their services, they strive to bring the same excellence of trusted quality care to the medical cannabis industry. This is a whole health consulting agency that serves as a liaison between patients and professionals in the medical cannabis community. They focus on whole health. This means bridging the gap from what patients aren't getting in conventional medicine. One of the many tools is cannabinoid therapy. Green nurses create connection and synergy between medical marijuana patients and their providers and registered medical dispensaries in an attempt to ensure medical cannabis is consumed safely and responsibly and to the highest medical benefit. Joining another woman-led company with founder and CEO Elizabeth Mack, whose vision was to build an integrated delivery system for cannabis therapeutics, professional education, and patient support. It is a values-led company to nourish the endocannabinoid system for millions and find root cause healing from a broken healthcare system. Holistic Caring was established in 2016 by Elizabeth Mack, an RN and BSN with an MBA, to bridge those gaps between conventional cannabis therapeutics through professional education and patient care services. Sherry joined forces with Elizabeth, and now their holistic business has a worldwide reputation. Please enjoy our conversation in today's very special episode with the inimitable Sherry Mack and Chief Nursing Officer of Green Nurses. Welcome, Sherry.
I'm very excited to come on. I started watching your content. I think it's lovely. I think it's beautiful what you're doing. It's so much fun, just to see you embrace, just and also shine and have good boundaries about what you're doing. So, I'm interested in all of what you're doing, and your goddess speakers or your online, I'm happy to participate so we can talk about that afterwards. But yeah, really grateful to be here. And yeah, I'm going to let you lead because I do podcasting as well. So I'm just going to kind of be the guest today, which is really fun for me. So
I was a guest just an hour earlier on
Oh,
somebody's
there you go.
show, and I know exactly how you're feeling right now.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
little weird to be on the other side of the microphone,
yeah,
but
but it's fun.
dear audience, help me welcome Sherry Mack of the Green Nurses and holisticcaring.com. I want you to remember that, holisticcaring.com. And I have been watching Sherry and her beautiful bride Elizabeth forever, and just following in your footsteps, trying to understand what this whole cannabis thing is, how it applies to us as elders. I'm 70,
Right.
and how we can, use the plant practically when there's so little information out about it. Our doctors don't know anything. It's not easy finding those trusted sources in cannabis right now because it's all just the Wild Wild West.
Yes. It,
So I love I, I love helping women, and I find it just a little bit easier to help women, and then they go on and help all their other, male loved ones. That's sort of the path that I'm going down right now, and it's
absolutely.
wonderful.
Well, women, I think the return of the matriarch is coming back, and cannabis, all the medicine is grown in the female plants. So it's truly, a nurturing, feminine, divine goddessy type of thing, and
Really,
educating and, educating with kindness, educating with compassion, educating with integrity, and not glossing over some of the problems, So it's really
right.
just truly about, being having an integrity when you're educating on plant medicine and knowing that it isn't for everyone, although, it could be if people truly sat down and learned about it and learned about their bodies. I call it our smart body. And the most important system in our body that isn't taught in medical school and isn't taught in nursing school, the endocannabinoid system.
ECS.
Yeah.
Um, that is the whole key to why it works in our body, and yet, three people on the planet know it. It feels like. So until we can get that finer point across to our medical establishments, and all of that bureaucracy that goes into it, red tape and la la la, they've just got to learn. It's left up to us, and
Yeah, it
I
is.
recognized that. And
And the other thing too is even like the American Medical Association, I've been creating content for a while and doing education and I keep checking with the American Medical Association. They still have not approved cannabis as medicine. The American Medical Association only approves of FDA approved medicines. So, and according to the FDA, only FDA approved medicines can make any claims to treat, cure diseases. So, we all know that plant medicine has a role, in the space for healing, because of what plants do. And specifically, when you learn about the endocannabinoid system, we have an endocannabinoid system not because of the cannabis plant, but because we make molecules in our body very similar to the plant, so really, really beautiful. And what I actually love too is how nurses are truly embracing this. The American Nurses Association, which represents 5 million nurses, just approved cannabis nursing as a specialty
it's
last year.
oh,
Yes, September 27th, 2023, approved cannabis nursing as a specialty. As a matter of fact, back in 2018, the National Council State Boards of Nursing, which is the nursing regulatory board that puts out the exam for nurses. This is 2018, so this is 6 years ago. Literally put out a call to action that all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. And then the American Nurses Association, in collaboration with the American Cannabis Nurses Association, they recognized cannabis nursing as a specialty. And just this year, the scope and standards of cannabis nursing has been published, which is just amazing.
that
And
is amazing. That
yeah,
is
that's the
really,
who, what, when, where, why. We do what we do. So it kind of gives validity to what a lot of nurses have been doing underground and in secret for a long time to help their patients push the needle towards optimal health and wellness for sure.
Yes, underground. I'm thinking of Brownie Mary right now.
Brownie Mary, I know,
Yeah,
back in the 80s,
yeah.
with the
God.
LGBTQ movement. And, she, her quote is, "I bake the world a better place."
I'd forgotten that. Oh yeah, that was sweet. Oh,
Brownie Mary, and how she made these beautiful, that was the beginning of the edible movement and during the AIDS crises, and how she was in San Francisco, baking brownies at the university or the San Francisco hospital, and actually delivering them to AIDS patients, and truly having an impact on their life. And her activism and advocacy actually propelled research towards cannabinoid therapeutics and the HIV population.
amazing, amazing what women do as we try to nurse and nurture our society along. Do you remember what the next big medical thing was for cannabis after that?
After Brownie Mary,
Uh-huh. It was the
there's a
great,
lot.
yeah, there is a lot. And that's good. But
Yeah.
it was the great medical marijuana mothers migration to Colorado to
Ooh.
keep their babies from
Yeah.
seizing when when hemp,
Charlotte Fiji.
yeah,
The
was really,
Charlotte Fiji days. And
yeah,
yeah, yes.
yeah.
Yes, and that was the evolution of Charlotte's Web,
Right.
through Charlotte Fiji, and how, Charlotte Fiji and a lot of families became medical refugees. And they, were in Charlotte's Web originally was called Hippie's Disappointment, because that was the original strain name of it prior to them changing it to Charlotte's Web. It was Charlotte's Fiji's therapeutic response to their formulation, where she went from having 300 seizures a week to one a week. And actually, her first day in the oil, she had 0 seizures. So they changed Hippie's Disappointment to Charlotte's Web, and that's what we see today.
I love this history, and it never fails to amaze so many other people. Hang on a second.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta caryophyllene.
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. So I had terrible, terrible arthritis, still do, in my hands and my feet, have some serious neuropathy in my fingertips that had been awakening me every hour on the hour, all night long for months. All I could think about was pain, 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 pain. And so my personality, this girl had completely disappeared. Next thing you know, I find out about your product,
Right.
and what beta caryophyllene can really do. Within minutes of taking my first dose, I could feel the sadness just lifting. Can you hear them?
Yes, they are. Do they have any CBD? I have some Bloom Hemp CBD for them.
Where were we? Oh, as women are nursing our society through, aches and pains and suffering of all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great to finally see movement in this industry.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to be happening, with the last political turn of events, but we're going to keep going forward no matter what.
Yes, we are, because this plant continues to grow towards the light. Right. And so that's the beautiful thing. I know the DEA rescheduling hearing for December 2nd has actually been pushed to January. I don't know if there's an actual date yet for that, but rescheduling is definitely on the menu. As nurses, we're all for descheduling. I mean, rescheduling is better than nothing, but, really descheduling, because this plant has so many therapeutic benefits. The therapeutic use of cannabis is the use of cannabis products for medicinal, wellness, and healing purposes. It is personal and subjective to each consumer, with objective criteria being improvement in one of the 5 health domains without negatively impacting any of the others. So you've got physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social. So if you see a positive impact in one of those 5 health domains without negatively impacting any of the others, you have therapeutic use of cannabis. And that's according to the American Cannabis Nurses Association.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
I love all of that descriptor about it. It's just so valuable to for our audience to hear you say that out loud. You know,
Yeah.
I could talk about it all day, but I don't have the credentials of a medical professional. But I study under so many, our tribe on LinkedIn. I adore them, and it's a gold mine for education. But it's a little unnerving to see what's happening. I'm not sure. I don't mean to be talking about politics or putting a call on the cannabis conversation, but just to let people know our laws are undulating around cannabis still. And we don't know if the farm bill is going to be picked up again. And so that will give us certain graces that we've been able to enjoy for the past 4 or 5 years. We don't know what's going to happen, with California. You're in California, aren't
I'm
you?
in California, so
Oh.
2223 has completely banned all THC and hemp products. So basically what they're doing is they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Oh, no.
So I can understand, and this is because there are some, we call them bad actors that are in the industry that are actually Frankensteining these cannabinoids and creating synthetic cannabinoids that can cause harm. There's a lot of things that we don't know. Whole plant formulations are great. Full spectrum CBD should not be banned. We're going backwards when you are banning a natural plant, but they're doing that because of the hemp beverages that are now showing up in the liquor stores. And so like, again, some people are taking in Frankensteining the plant and creating these synthetic versions with, THCO, THCP. I'm not anti-Delta 8, but it's really.
Tell me why.
Well, because there's a lot of research around it. It depends upon where you get your Delta 8 from, number one. And the research around Delta 8 to me was pretty compelling, specifically for nausea and vomiting in the pediatric population. So yeah, there was a research study that was done. I actually did a podcast on it. But it's not all Delta 8's the same. So you have to, Delta 8 can be found in the cannabis plant naturally, but it's not found in abundance. So what they're doing is they're actually, doing chemical processing and setting up these labs and tweaking
transformation of compounds.
Yeah. So, but based on research, Delta 8 can be very beneficial, but you have to get it from the right sources. Even Delta 9 is being tweaked synthetically, and then what they're doing is they're making these new compounds that are much stronger and lock on to the receptors a little bit tighter, and so people are having these horrible side effects when they when they try them, and that's what we want to avoid. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but they don't have enough. They need to have more nurses, involved in legislation and to really, to help them make decisions that are going to be best for everyone. Because, there's 5 million people in California that are actually using full spectrum products. And when you ban them, what you're doing is you're setting up the black market all over again. There's a lot of patients that are using these full spectrum CBD products that have a trace amount of THC in them, and they're more cost effective. They're not getting what they need at the dispensaries. CBD products are not that great at dispensaries at all. There's a few dispensaries, but not very many that carry good CBD. And then it becomes cost prohibitive because of all the taxes. So yeah, so it's just, it'll be very interesting to see how this all rolls out, but I am not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm all about regulating in a way that makes sense. They had to start somewhere.
Would you tell our audience how you got into the cannabis industry as a nurse?
Yes, I will. So I'll tell you, I've been a registered nurse for 36 years. I worked at the big teaching hospitals in Boston for a very long time. I ended up getting sick in 2012, work-related illness, an infectious disease that I was in the intensive care unit for almost a month. Got a bacterial infection while I was working and ended up on the other side of the bed. And I became one of those, I truly know what it means to suffer. So I have a lot of compassion for patients that are out there today that have nowhere to turn. And so I became the mill, going from one doctor to one practitioner, one pill, one procedure after another. And I truly believe if doctors, nurses, and clinicians knew about the endocannabinoid system, I wouldn't have suffered as long. And so at the end of my suffering, it was 2.5 years. I was on 18 pharmaceuticals. I was disabled. Yep. Not able to work, barely able to take care of my kids. I was in bed the majority of the day. It was really hard. And it was really hard. I was a single mother of 3, unable to work anymore in my profession. And I call it circling the drain of despair. I have so much to be grateful for, but I don't feel it, and it's really a scary place to be in, knowing that you have a lot to live for, but you don't feel it. And so, chronic suicidality was on my mind, 18 pharmaceuticals. And so I want people to understand 5 or more pharmaceuticals equals polypharmacy. If you're taking 10 or more pharmaceuticals, there is 100% chance that those pharmaceuticals are interacting and not in your best and highest interest. And that was what's happening to me. It was really wreaking havoc with my endocannabinoid system that I didn't even know that I had because it wasn't taught in nursing school. So what ended up happening to me was I'm also an energy healer. I am a Reiki master. I do reconnective healing, and I work with a lot of frequencies. And so one of my patients that was an energy healing client of mine is a nurse, and she's 70 years old at the time. And she called me up and she says, I'm coming over. I haven't heard from you. You've been out. I want a Reiki session. I want to have some healing done. And so I let her come over, and she came to me with her harvest from her garden. So she grew cannabis, 70 years old. She was a nurse. Yes, came to me, brought me a couple of joints. And I sat up in bed and I was a little insulted. And I said, gosh, Marianne, I'm on the most potent pharmaceuticals that exist. How could this possibly help me? And she said, Sherry, you're dying. You have nothing to lose. And she goes, I want to disclose something to you. She says, I'm 70 years old and I have been using cannabis every day since the age of 17. That's 53 years of using cannabis, and I'm not on any pharmaceuticals, nor have I ever been hospitalized. I had to take a look at that. Then she disclosed to me that her father was a pharmacist and carried cannabis formulations in his pharmacy prior to 1937.
There it is.
So there it is. That's what I needed to hear.
Yes.
And really take a look at it. And so the interesting thing is when I sparked it up, literally I did, sparked it up as a nurse.
Yes.
And trust me, I've been through my own stigma. I've been through my own bias. I've judged myself horribly. There is no judgment in using this plant therapeutically because the first 3 puffs that I took, my pain went from a 10 to a 0.
That's it.
And I was not high. That's what I didn't understand. I said, how is this possible that I just took 3 big drags off of this homegrown, beautiful plant that you harvested for me, and I'm not impaired and I'm not high and my pain is gone? And so that to me, my head cracked open. I felt consciousness pour in, and I said, I have to figure this out. I have to figure out how to
smoke before.
What was that?
Had you ever smoked before? Like,
I had.
So you know what high was.
I knew what high was in being impaired.
Right.
But feeling good. And
yeah.
But this was different.
Yeah.
This was different. This was
pain control.
This was pain control. This actually worked on multiple receptors, right? You got THC, CBD, working on my endocannabinoid system, working on pain receptors. And so all of a sudden, my life changed in an instant from that moment, from that nurse having that, what I call a transpersonal nursing experience with me. She shared her vulnerability. She shared her heart. She shared her soul. She shared something that, she believed that could help me. And it did.
Gave you an epiphany.
Huge epiphany.
It gave you your epiphany.
Yes. And so then what happened is this is an even better story. So I said, okay, I need to be legal. I got to be careful about how I do this. I called my mother. My mother was like, bad idea. No, my mother's Irish Catholic, and she thought it was the devil's lettuce, not happy about it at all. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to talk to anyone about this. I'm just going to kind of do it on my own. So I went to the doctor and got my medical card because I wanted up on the up and up. But I was plagued with stigma. I had the hat on, the glasses. I went to a different town. I didn't want anyone to know it was me. I was really scared. And so after I got my medical card, I said to the doctor, okay, now what? And he goes, good luck, kid. I said, that's it? Good luck, kid? Like it's a free for all? It's a free for all. So basically, I went shopping at the dispensary, bought all of this cannabis, all different kinds of products. And I remember sitting down, looking at it all on my table. And I said, gosh, if I can figure this out, you can call me the green nurse. And here we are.
Oh,
We are, right? How many years later, right? 14 years later, doing cannabis nursing. And so literally went down the rabbit hole of figuring out how to make it work for me and utilizing this in a way, started learning about the endocannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid dome, connected with other nurses at the American Cannabis Nurses Association, the Cannabis Nurses Network, and really just started to learn and take as many courses as I could. And once I figured this out, I said, I need to help others because I don't want any other patient that goes to a doctor that asks the doctor for help on what to do and how to take the next step for him to say, good luck, kid. That's inappropriate. So I wanted to fulfill a need, and I thought that this would be a great niche because, and then I had to come off of the pharmaceuticals that I was on. So I took the time to really understand this plant and to nuance it. I studied it, researched it, and I also gotten involved with the legacy market. So the legacy market is those people that I like to say saved my life. They're the medicine makers that have been doing this for a very, very long time to help, growing and cultivating and extracting and making medicine for people that have cancer, autism, epilepsy, chronic pain. I got involved with that community so I could learn from them.
Yes.
And they taught me everything that I know, and I am so grateful for that. And then taking the legacy information that I learned from the community of caregivers that had existed, and then marrying that to research and science, and then now evolving it into the nursing space. So I started the Green Nurse, back in 2015, started to educate, was working with dispensaries, working with doctors' offices, had a little office. And then when COVID hit, things started to pick up a little bit, and I had more nurses that wanted to be educated and learn. And so I ended up merging my company, The Green Nurse, with Elizabeth Mack, Holistic Caring. So what I was doing on the East Coast in Boston, Elizabeth was doing on the West Coast in San Diego. So Elizabeth had her own Prop 215 dispensary. She was actually creating education and content. She wrote a book, Cannabis for Health, Become a Coach. This book became the programs. And so she's got she's licensed with the Board of Registration in Cannabis in California for continuing education credits. So she turned her book into programs, and we've been working on those programs and this year we're actually aligning them with the scope and standards of cannabis nursing. And so we merged our companies in 2021 to make Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse. And so that is Holistic Caring education, Green Nurse coaching and consulting. And then we bought Bloom Hemp to finish our ecosystem off because Bloom Hemp we've been working with for a very long time. We've been vetting CBD companies for a long time because when patients come to us, you need to have a place that you can trust, that you can refer them to, besides a dispensary. Some people want to go to the dispensary. Some people want to shop online. And there's a lot that you can do with full spectrum CBD hemp products.
Yes.
Get people started safely without them over consuming on THC. And that's the goal really is, you want to find that fine balance of what works for someone. But I know it's not all just THC. It's truly the whole plant, multiple different products that you can take, multiple different cannabinoids, different routes of administration, and then teaching people how to build their toolkit. So we purchased Bloom Hemp in 2022. The original owners of the company, they had a doctor, Sunil Pai, who's an Ayurvedic practitioner. He did the original formulations. Elizabeth and I took over and we formulated 4 new products based on our experience of taking care of 6,000 patients. So we've taken care of 6,000 patients together over the past 10 years, from pediatrics to geriatrics, all different types of conditions and symptoms, and just really helping people to get a better day, teaching them about the endocannabinoid system and how that they can fine tune it in a way so they can get the results that they're looking for.
I just feel like I need to genuflect in front of y'all. Honey, you are doing the work of saints and goddesses. I'm just so impressed, Sherry. I love that Boston is cranking out, the School of Pharmacy is cranking out masters in cannabinoidology now, because who better than to understand the compounds in this plant than a pharmacist? That's his whole shtick.
Yes. Yes.
So,
same thing too. My daughter just started pharmacy school. So I have a 25-year-old daughter.
wow.
Who is in, yep, this is her first year. So she's got her bachelor's in science and biology. And she ended up getting into Mass School of Pharmacy. So she's at the Massachusetts School of Pharmacy. And she just started this year. And it was funny, week 4, she started sending me screenshots of what she's learning. And they're actually teaching on the endocannabinoid system in pharmacy school.
Hey, I think I saw a post that you put up of that.
Yes.
Yes. That was so cool. It made us all tingle inside. It really did to know that.
Well, and the part that was good too is because, my kids at the time, they've seen me suffer. They've seen what I've gone through. They've seen me heal.
Right.
And so they're completely on board with all of this. They're kind of blown away. And it was the interesting thing was when I created my first patient manual. So I have a safety manual, safe consumption manual, et cetera, for new patients. And I wanted my kids to look at it to see what it was all about, and, just to see if they understood what it meant. So I basically said, so what do you think about mom being a medical marijuana nurse? And they go, marijuana and cannabis is the same thing. This isn't what they're teaching in school. So I knew we had a lot of work to do. So basically it's like, we need to rewrite the DARE program, because even the DARE program is outdated with wrong information.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I get that question from elders too. They don't know. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
They just don't.
They don't. And well, the thing is too, is then there's a lot of what I call cognitive dissonance, meaning that you can feed them research, knowledge, information. There could be books. And so cognitively, they're a head full of knowledge, but they still don't feel it because it hasn't affected them personally.
That's right.
And how I got my mother on board, this is a really good story. You're going to like this. So my mother was anti-cannabis completely. She blocked me on Facebook and wrote me out of her will for 2 years.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
It was really hard. I'm not going to lie. But when this book came out, when the National Council State Boards of Nursing came out in 2018, that's when I started my podcast. I said, I am going to take this a step further. So I literally, and then I did I think 8 months worth of daily podcasts during COVID-19. I did a morning show Monday through Friday, and I would cover every Monday. We would go over this book in particular, and then interviewing, starting the podcast, interviewing patients that had compelling stories to share. And it was a patient that came on. She wanted to do, and it's a patient that I actually took care of. She wanted to get the message out. She was a nun, a Catholic nun. Yep. Sister Suzanne did the podcast circuit back in 2018 to share her compelling story of coming off of fentanyl. So this is a nun who had chronic regional pain syndrome. She was misdiagnosed with MS. They put her on a whole host of medications. She was a polypharmacy. She ended up tripping, falling, having a stroke, ending up in the hospital, woke up with a horrible pain condition. 400 micrograms of fentanyl every 36 hours. And so for those of you that are new that are watching, I used to be an intensive care unit nurse. 400 micrograms of fentanyl is enough to put a 250-pound man out for 4 hours and have surgery. It's very, very strong, very, very potent. So Sister Suzanne came to me, and so we worked with her, and over the course of a year, within 6 months, she was able to start weaning off of her opiates. And a year and a half later, she became opiate free. She started doing the podcast circuit, and she wanted to share her compelling story. So I asked her ahead of time. I said, I want to focus a little bit on the religion piece of it for those people, and I want to do it with all respect. So, and she goes, just be yourself, Sherry. It'll be fine. So I said, okay. So I said, Sister Suzanne, this is for my mother. Mom, I love you dearly, but what would Jesus say about all this cannabis? And Sister Suzanne held up her finger and she said, Sherry, Jesus would say, what the frig did it take you so long to use this God-given plant that I created for you? It would be a sin not to use it. So I literally sent that clip to her, just that clip. And then I also sent her the entire podcast to watch. Yeah. And a couple of weeks later, she called me up and she said to me, Sister Suzanne changed my mind. I'm open. What now? What do I do? And this actually helped me working with my mother to help me to work with a lot of other patients that have, and also teaching me to meet people where they're at. Yeah. Where I knew what would help my mother, but she needed to get to that point of believing it. So I said, well, let's just start off with 2 ingredients. We got CBD isolate and we got MCT oil, and we mixed them together, and we did it together because I wanted her to see that there's no THC in here, and we're just going to put it on as a topical. So we just made the 2 ingredients. She put it on as a topical, and she's trying it, and she's using it for a week, and she goes, well, that's pretty good. But it could be better, couldn't it? And I go, it could be better. So why don't you try a little under your tongue? So we're going to put it on your skin. Now let's put it under your tongue, a couple of times a day, a couple of drops to see how it feels. And so, well, I really don't feel it yet. I said, well, it's subtle. So let's just give it some time. She goes, but you got something stronger, don't you? And I said, yeah. So as a matter of fact, I do. So we started on broad spectrum CBD. So she did the CBD topical, and then it was broad spectrum CBD, which is whole plant with the THC removed. And then she's like, okay, this is great. I'm ready to try full spectrum now. Okay, so we tried the full spectrum, and she started to see really good results. And then finally, one day she goes, I want to try the chocolate. She says, send me a chocolate bar. So I sent her a chocolate bar, and I talked to her on the phone before she ate it. And I said, just take 1 square.
Oh, man.
Just do 1 square. I said, if it doesn't work, we can up it the next night. Well, she didn't listen. And the next day she called me up, and well, actually I said, if you get into trouble, call me. And she didn't call right away. And so I ended up calling her and just finding out what's up. And she goes, well, I didn't listen. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, the chocolate tasted so good. I said, well, that's why you need to have another chocolate bar that is non-infused.
Right.
So you don't eat the infused chocolate bar. She goes, well, I had 3 squares, and that's too much for someone that age. But she had enough CBD on board that it didn't cause panic.
Right.
So she says, I felt it, and it was wonderful. So yeah. So she says, I'll never do that much again. She goes, but it's really interesting. She goes, it was really interesting.
Kind of found her sweet spot, though, didn't she?
Found her sweet spot.
Where she was with it, didn't she?
Yep. And her sweet spot is literally 1 chocolate square. And if she wants to feel a little bit more, she might do 2. For the most part, it's just 1 chocolate square. And so my mom, this is a really good story, she goes, I feel really bad of what I did, blocking you on Facebook, writing you out of the will, the whole 9 yards. So she ended up coming on my podcast, which was really fun, to share her story. And this part that was so beautiful is she says, I was wrong about all you stoners. She said, I was wrong about all you stoners. I thought you were all stoners and blah, 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 and all of this. And she goes, I feel good and I'm not high. I said, oh, well, what does it mean to feel good and not be high? And she says, well, The pains become background noise. I'm sleeping a lot better. I'm not so grumpy. I giggle a little bit more, and I'm not so depressed about my medical problems. And so that's what got me to change the whole thing around my podcast of saying, we're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. H is for hope. I is for inspiration, G is for growth, and H is for healing. The first thing that cannabis brings so many different patients is that hope. Hope that they can have another day. Hope that they can feel better. Hope that they can play with their grandkids or go out to dinner or engage in an activity without pain. You know, and once they have that hope, they have inspiration. And once you have inspiration and you're inspired, you're in spirit. And when you're in spirit, you're open to receiving new information. So hope, inspiration, and then growth. Growth is an action word. You have to do something to grow. You have to grow in health. And it requires us to not only take a cannabis plant, but also to pay attention to everything else that we're doing or not doing in our lives. So every single thing that you do either contributes to your health or does not. So it's really about that. And so hope, inspiration, growth, and healing. And I love that word healing. Healing isn't the absence of illness or disease. Healing is truly about doing the best you can in any given moment with what you have right here, right now. Healing is about functionality and about agency and about making decisions and about living your best life in any given moment. So my mother's story impacted actually how I even podcast today.
I believe it.
Yeah. Because she said, I feel good and I'm not high. And I said, okay, well, we need to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high.
It's wonderful to have a new perspective on high. It's wonderful. And getting past that stigma, especially your mother's stigma, it's so common. I don't know if her religion was wrapped up in a bit of that, if her cultural stuff was wrapped up in that, if she had friends who she thought, should not have been involved in that, or, whatever her judgments were about cannabis, you very gently dispelled each one of those with, such a loving, nurturing way that only nurses can do.
Exactly. And that's what I tell patients too. When people will sign up, they'll be like, well, how long is it going to take for me to get better? I said, well, the longest it's ever taken me to help someone get comfortable was my mother. And I said, it's because she was resistant, but it took time, but she got there. Right. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. So it all depends upon your openness. Cannabis works, CBD works, modulating the endocannabinoid system works. But you have to be open to the information and also have the willingness to make those subtle changes in your life. It's not just about cannabis, not just about CBD, but everything else that we're doing and not doing as well.
It's true. I don't listen to news. I can't stand the lead off with women being raped and slashed and killed and murdered. I don't listen to, gory stuff on TV or the news. I listen to good music that puts me in an inspirational mood to be focused and work on my stuff. I got a lot going on and there's a lot of moving parts and I need to stay focused for that. But holy cow, this pain, and it can just really, thwap me. And if I use my cannabis and other cannabinoids, it's not just cannabis. I layer with other stuff too, like beta caryophyllene.
I love beta caryophyllene.
Me too. And ho. I talk about that quite a bit on my show because, first of all, it's a wonderful alternative. But secondarily, for me, it did things for me that cannabis couldn't.
Yes.
It's not saying that cannabis wasn't the right product. I'm saying I didn't have the right cannabis product that could help me properly.
Correct.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to get good, consistent cannabis products, no matter where you are, unless you're getting it from a trusted source. Yeah. And so, those trusted sources are far and few between. Puppies, puppies. So,
yeah, beta caryophyllene is beautiful. It's, not only is it a terpene, but it's also acts on the endocannabinoid system, particularly CB2 receptors. It's non-impairing. I put a lot of kids on it. All my cancer patients go on beta caryophyllene right away. The studies around it that Dr. Blair has provided for people, it's just been amazing. Beta caryophyllene is a staple in our diet. We get it shipped monthly regularly to our houses, because the other thing that I like about beta caryophyllene is it keeps the THC levels low. I don't need as much THC when I'm taking.
My consumption of cannabis went down when I started using E+.
Yeah,
I was
because you're hitting a whole different set of receptors.
Yeah.
And it's actually because too much THC over time, what happens is the plant makes THC, we make anandamide, and the molecular structure is the same. We produce anandamide upon demand all day long. If you take too much THC, you start to decrease the amount of anandamide that you're making, because your body says you're getting it from other sources. So that is why the beta caryophyllene I like. So in other words, I was, a lot of people's tolerance levels go up and up and up and up when they're taking THC, because the receptors start to hide to protect you.
I was going to say
more and more and more. So it's a great alternative. So now if I do want to inhale or have a nice edible, I can feel it, and I don't have to take a 50 milligram THC edible. I can take 10 and feel it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So beta caryophyllene is a beautiful, beautiful cannabinoid terpene, and what Dr. Blair has done, I'm giving him a 2 thumbs up. Green Nurse approved. He's an amazing doctor and has done some great work. And all of our patients, we recommend it.
Yeah, I do too. And I love his help. He's instrumental in helping me learn more about myself as a woman in a medical way. And it's just gobsmacking what I didn't learn before I was 70. What? Hormones?
Oh, I know. Yeah, so, trust me. The hormones.
We've got a lot of work to do. We've got serious job security. Don't you feel it?
Yeah.
Because we've got so much work to do.
Yeah.
But I love your perspective and what you've been doing. Sherry, thank you. Bless you, darling, for all of your hard work. It's just truly amazing the path that you have forged, and the nurses that are finally getting their full measure of education about this beautiful plant. Yeah. It's just so helpful to humanity.
It is. And then also too, it's going to, help nurses to stick in there longer. Nursing is hard. Bedside nursing is really hard. Dealing with patients and families, and, the burnout and compassion fatigue, et cetera. So cannabinoids are generally so much more gentle than pharmaceuticals and alcohol and other substances, you know what I mean? So really teaching nurses how to use it therapeutically for wellness, and to keeping the healthy mindset, and to really take care of themselves so they can do what they love, which is nurse.
Yes.
And
spiritual and psychological balance and tolerance is what I really wanted to say.
Yeah.
Cannabis gives us tolerance. I mean, it's an introspective compound anyway. It makes us, think inwardly about ourselves and our lives and all that. But I just love how it helps us with tolerance, whether that's your 90-year-old spouse or your mother-in-law.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it helps you to slow down enough to just, to take that pause to really reflect. You know what I'm saying? And so, I do think, cannabinoids, for health professionals, I think the world would be, gosh, if we all had a bong, we'd all get along.
I love that. Oh, if we could only give all of our politicians a bong together.
Yeah.
What's coming up in 2025 for y'all?
What's coming up in 2025 for us all? So I'll have to do a plug. Elizabeth, like I said, has finished this book right now. I am currently helping her edit her other book, Wine, Women, and Weed, A Return to Love. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. I know that process. I'm trying to birth my own book, and it's just.
Yeah, she wrote it. She's been writing it for a while. She put it down, And then we just picked it back up and we're almost done editing it, and it's going to go to the editor by the end of the year. And we want to have it launched for 420.
Oh,
Why
that's awesome.
a return to love. And it's actually it's her memoir. It's her memoir, but it's gonna a lot of it's gonna focus in on her journey, but also a lot with cannabis in this space and in the evolution of her life.
Yeah.
It's really that's what's coming up. Also next year, the American Cannabis Nurses Association, I'm on the board of directors for them. Very, very excited and honored to be elected for another 2 years. Truly going to be pushing the needle to create an exam for cannabis nursing. Yeah, so scope and standards. So going to be working on that and just working on educating more people on this magnificent.
Sherry, I've got a lot of nurses in my family, but I haven't been able to convert them yet.
Oh, wow.
But I keep talking about it. I don't shove,
The thing is that, I think if they understood that the American Nurses Association has approved of cannabis nursing for the past 20 years, number one, and number two, they now have made a statement that they've approved cannabis nursing as a specialty.
Yes.
And nurses are going to be able to sit and be board certified. There's no other professional licensed medical organization that exists besides nursing that is truly endorsing cannabis as medicine.
Yeah. Nurses do it all. How can the audience get in touch with you, dear heart?
Okay, so basically the easiest way would just go to holisticcaring.com, literally. And you can, we actually, what I love about holisticcaring.com is we've actually created a beautiful network off of social media. So when you go to the homepage of holisticcaring.com, there you'll see join our free network. It's free for everyone. So you can join the free network. You can chat with me within the network. We have a free introductory to cannabis course, free ABCs of CBD. We have a free plant medicine support group that meets monthly at the fourth Monday of the month. And we host all of our live webinars in there as well. We have I'm doing a podcast tonight, but next Wednesday, we're doing Ayurvedic. We have an Ayurvedic board certified Ayurvedic practitioner coming on, and we're doing a free webinar. So people can sign up for that as well. And really talking about the intersection of Ayurvedic medicine, cannabis, and CBD. So I would say go to holisticcaring.com and join our free network. Come in, see what we're all about. You can sign up for all of these free things. We do have some of our paid courses in there, but it's a beautiful network. We also brought on another nurse. I want to give a big shout out to Nurse Carrie Lee. Nurse Carrie Lee is also a plant medicine nurse. And she's, her company is Into the Bliss 1717, and she's doing tarot and oracle card readings and really bringing in integration. So people that are working with spirit and spiritual principles or doing psychedelics, she's offering her services and card reading services there as well. So it's a free space for people to come, to join, to learn, to lurk, and it's off social media. And then they can reach out to me privately in there, and I answer every message.
I love lurking. Thank you for saying it like that. You girls are on fire. I'm so proud. Dear darling audience, please go visit holisticcaring.com for all of the amazing information, education, accolades, and products too. You'll find trusted products there.
Yeah, we do. And Holistic Caring shop, we do have other CBD companies besides our own. So it's not just about us. We like to have a little something for everyone, and we vetted these companies.
I say the same thing. Hey, I'm so glad that you turned my little upturned nose about D8. I want to talk to you about that a little bit more sometime. But
sure.
Usually I just heard a close friend tell me that that's all he gets is D8.
I've tried it, I prefer Delta 9, but I actually did the research into it, and it's not all bad. It's just, it's just getting a bad rap. And, I would prefer Delta 8 as opposed to the HHC or the THCO or the THCP. You know what I mean? Because Delta 8 is is 1/3 the strength of Delta 9. So it's not going to fully, for me, it's truly about prepare and prevent instead of repair and repent. So safety, right? We want to prepare and prevent adverse outcomes, and if you're going to choose a synthetic, Delta 8 is much safer than any of the others for sure.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, yeah, right. Thanks for that point. Right.
Yeah, but there is research around it, and but it's not something that I would go shopping for.
Sources everything.
But it also, you have to look at certain states and their regulations, and so certain states, they don't have access to Delta 9. And so what are they doing? They're Frankensteining this plant to get whatever they can.
And people are looking for relief wherever they can find it.
They're looking for relief.
Yeah. So, right. So I can't say that okay. Well, another story, another time, but I like the real plant, and research around that has already been so limited, but we're going to be, all kinds of compounds are going to be exploding. And
we did some research at Bloom Hemp. Actually, we studied 100 women. We formulated a product called Focus, and we did this with the More Better Relief app and the Kenigma. Cody Peterson was part of it.
Love him.
Yeah. And so we took 100 women between the ages of 30 and 70 and sent them each a free bottle of Focus tincture. Yeah. So it was 1,200 milligrams of CBD, 200 milligrams of THCV, and 200 milligrams of CBG. And we studied that with women over the course of a month. And the results that we got back were very, very impressive. It was a real world evidence study. Yeah, it's right on our website, bloomhemp.com. We have the research tab that's right there. The whole booklet that the Kenigma put together, we've put, but we've also bullet pointed it. And so basically the interesting thing, 2.2 hours of more productivity a day across the board. 50% of the women, 2.2 more hours of productivity a day. And actually
didn't have so much pain.
Yeah. And then it actually helped, with the focus and the calming at the same time.
Yes.
And also a lot of the women noticed, and this is unheard of for a product. 50% said that it decreased their appetite, and 24% actually lost weight.
Oh, wow.
So that was clinically significant. So this is not a product for people that need to eat, but this is actually a product that's good for people that have, diabetes, pre-diabetes, people that want to lose weight, women that want more energy, postmenopausal women. And, and just seeing these results are kind of helping us to, work on marketing to be able to get the information out there so people can try it.
Wow. Yeah, we have to, like you said, we have to reach the people at their own level. But each person needs their own individualistic epiphany.
Each
so
aha moment.
Get them there to their epiphanies with their own language.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, truly, what's a miracle? A miracle is a change of perception, that aha moment when it just makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Cannabis can do that for a lot of people.
It sure can. Gosh, you've been a wonderful, wonderful sweetheart to come and spend this time with us. I so appreciate my audience getting this opportunity to learn from you, Sherry. The work you two are doing is just gobsmacking and amazing, and I'm so proud of you as a woman. Thank you, honey, for all of your service to our society, really. I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come back and see us again,
Absolutely,
especially when the new book comes out.
Absolutely. Elizabeth will come on and share, because
I'd love that too.
She literally bears all.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about being vulnerable and letting the world know who you are. It is all there in the book. It's very beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we love most about being a woman, is our own vulnerability, because we can all so relate to it.
Yeah.
We can all so relate. And that's part of, the transformation in epiphanies, is being able to relate to each other's suffering. and
Yeah.
vulnerability and survival. How'd you do it? How'd you come out of it? Well,
How
let
did
me
you
tell you.
How
So
did
it's all there. We're doing it. I love you so
Yeah.
much. It's just great to have you, honey. And thank you again. Will you come back?
Absolutely, yes. And I'd love to have you on my podcast as well when your event. So when your event is ready to be shared, let's have you on my podcast so we can promote your event.
Oh, that's just so gracious of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'd love to do that. Thanks a lot. All right. Well, thank you, audience, for being here. And we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. It is important to use verifiably safe products and look out for yourself while we're in this wild, wild west of cannabis right now. Ask for help. It can get complicated. If you need serious medical attention, please consult one of the specialists at cannabisclinicians.org. They will get you to the right person and therapy for your issues. Tune in here for weekly foundational knowledge and learn to determine the best choices and cannabis strategies for your issues. But please be advised that shamans are not doctors or scientists. You'll find those at cannabisclinicians.org. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you for your time today.